the diagram that you need to draw. It starts as a straight line and then it V's into two parallel lines. You can see that this one ends a little bit before this line down here ends. And then when this one ends, it's going to have a dotted line up and then a continued straight line. So, memorize that. That is the backbone that you will need to know. We're going to get started. This is the outline, basically, of the Bible. Beginning here, we got a circle, and we're going to write creation. And creation has no date, because we don't really know that for sure. There's lots of studies, there's lots of opinions, but we know at the beginning, oh, can you see that? We know at the beginning, there was creation. The date that we do know, though, is circa 2000 is when Abraham comes on the scene. So, Abraham comes on, or Abram as he is called then, and we use these dates loosely, at least at this point back here between, plus or minus 50 years. Abram comes on, and that in the Bible starts in Genesis 12 is when Abraham comes on the scene, and we start learning about him and the promises God is making to him. And then the next one that we have is 1500, and that is when a guy named Moses comes on the scene, and Moses then takes up the book of Exodus. The Exodus is when Moses was written. And then here when we have this division here, this is year 1000, and you can write David, because that's kind of the time of King David, and then his son, King Solomon, is also important. If I could have you guys write a house with the number 1 right there, that is when Solomon's temple is built. The first temple is called Solomon's temple. He builds a temple. It's great. After he dies, though, his kingdom, Israel, gets divided between his sons. One's not really technically a son, but basically this is, you want to write the division. This is the division between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom is called Israel, and the capital is Samaria. And then the southern kingdom is the kingdom of Judah, and its capital is Jerusalem. I'm spelling that wrong. Jerusalem. So I'll do that for their capital cities. So this is considered the northern kingdom. This is considered the southern kingdom. 10 tribes, as a side note, 10 tribes split and went up north, and only 2 tribes split and went south. Okay, so the next thing we want to know is we want to write dates. The dates are pretty important for you to remember, so try to memorize them as best as you can. This date here is 722, and that is the year that the northern kingdom fell, and they fell when down came Assyria. Assyria led by, and I have to read this because his name's kind of complicated, Tiglath-Pileser. Actually, I'm sorry. I don't know how to say his last name. It's very complicated. It kind of reminds me of Pilsner, so Pilsner. I don't. His first name is Tiglath. I do know that. Anyway, he leads the Assyrians. The Assyrians come down. They wipe out the northern kingdom, and they pretty much kill everybody. Context, during this time, the northern kingdom, Israel, was just acting horribly, doing really foul, abominable things, and the prophets were saying, hey, stop this behavior, like, if you don't, bad things are going to happen, like, this is coming for you. They pay no attention, they keep going along, and they get wiped out. So, basically, all of them are destroyed. The survivors, though, the surviving Jews, end up interbreeding with the Assyrians, and they become like half-breed Jews called Samaritans. So, 722. The next date you're going to want to write down is down at the bottom of this line, and that is 586. Make sure I have that right. Yes, I do. So 586 is when the Southern Kingdom gets destroyed, and you can write a house with the number 1 and a big X through it. Southern Kingdom gets destroyed. And that is by the Babylonians, led by King Nebuchadnezzar. And I'm going to write King Neb, because I don't know how to spell that. Babylonians come in and they demolish the Southern Kingdom. The Assyrians did come down to the Southern Kingdom and attack, but they left Jerusalem, the capital city, alone. They didn't attack it, and that's kind of where the religion of Zion comes out of like, you know, the untouched people on the hill, protected God's people, yada yada yada. So there was still a big part of the Southern Kingdom that was untouched by war. And they got pretty arrogant when the Northern Kingdom got destroyed, and we're thinking, wow, we are really God's chosen people because, you know, look what happened to the North, but we're still around. They started acting the same way that the North did, and so the prophets of the Southern Kingdom were like, hey, guys, slow down. Like, you are doing the same things. Like, bad things are coming if you don't pay attention and stop what you're doing and, you know, submit before God. And they did their own thing, and they got destroyed. But instead of killing all of them, they took them into the time of exile. So you can write here on this dotted line is about 50 years of exile. You can write a little dot up here and write the date 530. So this was the whole period that the Southern Kingdom was in exile and not allowed to be in their own kingdom. But in 530, King Cyrus of Persia let the Jews go back. Let the Jews go back home, and they were allowed to rebuild their temple, and he kind of freed them up, basically, in the year 530. So, let's see, here or wherever you want, you can write a temple with the number 2. So the second temple is built. The next year you want to write down is the year 300, and that is when the Greeks come in on the scene, led by Alexander the Great. Greeks. They don't come to destroy. They come to like take over the culture. They come to just rule basically, but they bring their own culture, which is called Hellenization. So they come to rule over the Jews. Next year you want to write down 150. That's when the Romans come in, led by Caesar. They come in and they destroy all the big like architecture and structures and stuff, but they still keep the Greek culture, and they kind of fuse it, and that's where we get the Greco-Roman era. And just so we kind of have a timeline a little bit better. During the time of exile is when Jeremiah is writing his stories, and then during this time is Ezra, Nehemiah, as far as books of the Bible. Totally side note, creation we know starts in Genesis. Genesis is the first book in the Bible, but it was not the first book written. Scholars believe that Job. I think it's Job. Job was the first book written. Okay, so Romans take over. They're taking over. The next year is year 3, and that is when I'm just gonna do this with some hay sticking out of it. It's a manger. It's Jesus. Jesus is born in year 3, and then we have year 36 right across. The year Jesus died. Died at approximately 33 years of age. And then we have the year 70. You can write the temple 2 is destroyed. And it's still destroyed to this day.